Why don't we just get started? People can trickle in as I'm chatting away. Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining. As I already mentioned, this coffee hour is being recorded for those who couldn't join, and also if you're here now and want to review whatever we cover later, you'll be able to find this recording and all of our coffee hours, as well as other workshops or certification help or newsletter previews and so on our YouTube channel. So I'll put it, or one of us, one of the Sustainable CT staff will put a link to our YouTube channel in the chat. You can take a look. And while you're there, you can check out our new episode of the Impact of Sustainable CT podcast. We release new episodes every month on the 15th. So our most recent episode just came out this month. Joanna Wozniak-Brown joins us to discuss the upcoming Sustainability and Resiliency Week. This is the second annual week of events that celebrate work across Connecticut to promote our economy, natural resources, and our communities. And this is taking place September 28th through October 4th. So Joanna serves as the Climate and Infrastructure Policy Development Coordinator at the Connecticut Office of Policy and Management, a role in which she leads the development and implementation of the Connecticut's climate and sustainability strategies. She's also a major organizer of the Sustainability and Resiliency Week initiative. So be sure to listen to it all and get your sustainability and resiliency ducks in a row for the end of September. I'll put a link in the chat too for our podcast and for the Resiliency Week information. For Resiliency Week, we're actually hosting a webinar as well on October 1st at 2 p.m., which will be an update from Senator Chris Murphy's office. We'll be joined by staff from his office for an update on the federal landscape related to sustainability and climate change initiatives. This webinar seeks to make a clear-eyed assessment of the state of our environmental union and find a positive way forward. Again, that's on October 1st from 2 to 3 p.m. And we'll put a link to the registration in the chat as well. I also want to just give a reminder that September 21st is Sun Day, which happens to also be on a Sunday, but it's also a day to celebrate the sun and a global day of action to uplift the power of solar and wind energy that can power our world without pollution. So come together with communities from across Connecticut to celebrate the unstoppable rise of clean and renewable energy. There will be speakers, music, art, activities for all ages, exhibitors, and lots of solar info. It's a free and open to all event, and it's on Sunday, September 21st from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Central Connecticut State University. There's also lots of towns that are doing individual Sunday celebrations in their communities. So check out the website and maybe look into seeing if you have a special Sunday celebration in your town. Lastly, I just want to mention that we are coming up on our 2025 annual awards celebration for certified municipalities from the 2025 year. And that event is happening on October 28th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Goodspeed Opera House. And this is really just a time to celebrate all of the towns that have achieved sustainable CT certification in 2025. It'll be at a really cool venue. There'll be some snacks and food, and it will just be a good time to mingle and get to chat with folks that are all interested in sustainability in all these different communities. So it's open to everyone. Please feel free to come join us. We'd love to see you there. And so now we can finally get to the meat of today. Before I hand it over to my colleagues that have joined us, I just want to give a little primer on what is Sustainable CT if folks are unfamiliar. So we are a nonprofit organization. We work with Connecticut municipalities and supporting them to become more sustainable. And really the core of our program is we have a municipal certification program, which is what I sort of mentioned with our celebration. So towns can earn bronze, silver, gold, or climate leader designations in our program and be celebrated for all of their work. They can get certified by completing actions. And most relevant to this topic is our Action 7.7.
Thank you so much. My name is Terry Eichel, and I want to thank Sustainable CT for hosting the Interreligious Eco-Justice Network. this morning for this webinar. We're a faith-based environmental group, and we work in Connecticut with religious communities, specifically on environmental issues like climate change, toxic pollution, and biodiversity loss. And I'm also a member of Sustainable Preston. So I thought to myself, this is a really great group of dedicated volunteers that might be interested in learning more about the energy efficiency programs that can benefit the small businesses in their town, including houses of worship. Houses of worship fall under the small business classification by the utilities. So I'm really glad you've joined us today. And I want to reiterate that these programs are for all small businesses and nonprofits in your town, not just the houses of worship, but we will be focusing on that today. This is the third in a series of 4 presentations that IREJN has hosted on energy efficiency and clean energy. The first 2 are on our website. The first one was Financing Large Energy Efficiency and Clean Energy Projects with Connecticut Green Bank. And the second one was called Urgency and Opportunity, Taking Advantage of the Federal Clean Energy Tax Credits. That was in August, and that was really focused on the solar tax credits. Like I said, they're both on our website under resources. Our fourth webinar after this one will be on Wednesday, October 29th from 12 to 1. The Connecticut Green Bank will be presenting on the benefits of pairing battery storage with solar. So registration is free and on our website. And I want to say, we are happy to help we're happy to advise the sustainable teams on reaching out to the houses of worship and happy to help you with that project. And if you are from a house of worship, we're also happy to work with you and help you get the information about these small business programs out, as well as the home weatherization programs that are available for residents. So we're really happy to work with you on anything. So I want to hand it over to our presenters. We have Alan Lungren from Eversource and Ricky Rosa from United Illuminating, and we're really grateful that you're able to be with us today. Thank you so much.
All right, great. So my name's Alan Lungren. I am a senior energy efficiency consultant for Eversource, and let my compatriot introduce himself real quick.
My name is Ricky Rosa. I work for UI and now Lungren, and I help manage our small business energy efficiency program.
Okay, great. That's perfect.
So the Small Business Energy Advantage program was created in order to offer a type of energy service specific to small businesses. And the idea is that small businesses usually don't have someone in-house who can be an expert on energy efficiency. So they really need, what we call a turnkey solution. They need an expert to come in, diagnose what their energy usage is and what the energy savings opportunities are, and make the most of that. So a large business probably can afford to have someone, and most large corporations usually do. So that's essentially where we come in. And as I believe as Terry mentioned, small businesses include basically all houses of worship in Connecticut. We basically have municipalities and commercial, and that's really our major divisions. And then most just by the energy usage profile, most houses of worship fall as small businesses. So, in any case, Eversource and UI basically have pretty much the exact same programs. There's very minor differences between the two, since most of the rules are set by the state. And then there's just minor differences between the two that aren't really that significant from a customer's perspective. But the idea is that we develop a roster of qualified contractors that will do the energy audit and project development process, manage the installation, basically do everything that is needed for the project, other than give it the green light on your end. So once the customer decides they want to go through with the project, the contractor also manages the installation, manages warranties, basically everything that you could need. And then our job as Eversource and Avangrid is to do the evaluation, make sure that everything on the proposal makes sense, there's no errors, and that everything complies with the state rules and policies on how the program should work. So,
So while we're waiting for that, Kristen in the chat asked, do you help with getting grants or incentives? Yes, the utilities provide incentives based upon installed measures up to 80% of project costs.
The way we set up the incentives, so they're totally separate from grants. So if you get grants from somewhere else, that has nothing to do with us. All the power to you. Whatever you can do. But we set up the incentive structure so that it rewards what we call comprehensive look at the building. So if you're going to do something like just replacing the lighting, your incentive is going to be relatively low. But if you add in, say, insulation to your domestic hot water pipes, you put in programmable thermostats, you seal up space around windows and doors. All those things just add to the incentive rate and just make the project more and more cost effective. Typically, as you go deeper and deeper and more comprehensive approach to looking at the building. So, and then once the incentive is applied to the project, the balance of that project can be financed at 0% on your electric bill. And that part is also there because most customers don't want to take out a small business loan. If they do, you have to basically do a credit check for it. We don't do that. Our check is basically, do you pay your electric bills on time? And if you pay your electric bills on time, then essentially you get on-bill financing with no credit checks. So it's typically pretty successful. The financing component is one of the biggest selling points. Most customers, especially small business customers, don't have a dedicated capital improvements budget like a large business or municipality or a state agency might. So not having to come up with upfront cash, not even just pay for the audit because the energy assessment's free, but to pay for the installation and all that basically comes at no upfront cost, which is one of the biggest attractors to the small business program.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think what we've done is, as Alan said, creating kind of a roster of vetted contractors, is we have folks who are trusted, who have been in our program and doing work with small businesses for many years, people who are accountable to the utilities, so that when they come into a building, they're looking for the right things. We provide them with a checklist of things that they need to make sure that we're getting the most out of these people that we can. And like Alan said, creating those comprehensive projects to ensure that your business is optimizing its energy to the best that it can, and you're receiving the highest incentive that you can for doing the project. And then,
yeah, most of our contractors, this is a significant source of their revenue in a year. So it's pretty rare, but we have removed vendors from the program for one reason or another. But essentially it's in their best interest, as well as yours and ours, for everyone to perform and do the best job they can, because that guarantees a steady stream of income, which is the best carrot you can dangle out there.
another great benefit of the program is agreed upon pricing. So when we hold our proposal process every 3 years, where we're getting these new vendors in, vendors are submitting proposals, they have to agree upon pricing for measures. So the benefits of the customer to the small businesses, they don't have to go around and do price shopping. They're going to go through the utility program and they're going to receive our really enhanced incentives. It's always going to be the same price no matter what vendor we go.
So are there any other questions? Okay. Yeah. So I'll get the emails from the chat. The question is, how do we start the process? I will put the emails in real quick. And so depending on what territory you're in, if you're in Avangrid for your electric bill, the UINet email, and then if you're in Eversource territory, the Eversource email. If you send an email to one of those, someone on the small business team will get the email. if you can include your hopefully your electrical account number. But if you don't have that, the street address, then we can usually look it up on our end, and that way we can put you in touch with a small business vendor, and then basically it'll be up to the two of you to do, scheduling when they're going to come out, do their assessment and everything like that.
Just to we had them in the slides, just to give you guys kind of a picture of the real example. At UI, we had done a project at St. Paul's Church in Fairfield. The total project cost was a shade under $60,000, and UI gave an incentive of about $25,000, and the church was able to finance the remaining about $30,000 on bill at 0% over the next 6 years, and it was paid for by the energy savings and the gas savings that they received as a part of the program.
Question about solar. Solar does not go through the small business program. We do have the utilities do have programs for solar PV installations, but it's a totally separate program, totally separate organization within the company. So I can try to look that up for in the meantime, get some contact information for that.
What other questions you folks have? Feel free to come off mute and ask questions directly, or the chat works as well.
And we can also send the slides, assuming Alan, you're comfortable with that, we can send the slides afterwards, which will give a bit more information and context.
Yep, that should be fine.
As for new construction, yes, we do have programs for that. For UI, our barrier for entry is 3 months of electric usage. I'm not sure if it's the same in Eversource territory to go through a small business program, but we do have new construction programs as well, and we can send around contact information for that.
Yeah, it's a different program under the same energy efficiency group, though. Basically, it's tough to explain, but it's a different methodology of how we look at the project. If you're upgrading the existing building, we basically look at what you have and then and upgrade that. Whereas if you're building a whole new building, we kind of look at, well, a modern building is going to be typically substantially more efficient than something built in, say, the 60s or 70s, just off the bat, just modern materials, modern building code. So the idea is that the new construction program seeks to get you to exceed, if code is here, the incentive structure tries to get you to exceed the code, whereas we're just trying to upgrade your existing. And there's a little bit of overlap. I don't know if I need to get into all that now, but if anyone wants me to, I could probably talk about this for a while.
Also worth mentioning, just while we're on the subject of other utility programs, if your church or small business has already purchased energy efficient equipment, we do offer rebates. And after install, it doesn't go through the small business program, but we do have a rebates program as well. And then we have other programs for sort of business behaviors, lighting usage, HVAC equipment usage, and just like optimizing the behavior instead of the equipment. So a lot of great utility programs. I think we'll try to get some direct contacts, but you can always reach out to small business with your situation and we'll get you pointed in the right direction.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
When you said you offer rebates for energy efficiency upgrades that have sort of already been installed, what's the look? How far back do you look?
I don't know.
Yeah, I could probably find that information. It's a different program, but the idea is the customers might want to do things themselves. They might have someone who, they're a small business customer, but they might have someone who knows the material. So they might just want to do it in-house. You're not paying additional labor and the profit margin of a separate company. So you can usually do things substantially cheaper if you do it yourself. But in those cases, we do still want to incentivize people to take that avenue if it suits them. So the rebate program is essentially for that, for customers who want to do it themselves, or say they have a relative that's an electrician, that kind of thing.
Sure. And so that can include like a variety of measures.
Yep. Yeah, there's I think pretty much everything that we do through the retrofit programs in small business can be done through the rebates. The incentives are usually a little bit lower, um, simply because we can't always validate the existing conditions, so we kind of have to be a little bit more conservative with what we spend, right? So
Hmm.
someone could say they're replacing a 20-year-old furnace, and it's actually been broken for 10 years, and we're not actually saving much energy in that case. So we're a little bit more conservative
Hmm.
with those programs because we don't get eyes on the building.
And Alan, would you mind giving some detail about the Main Street programs?
Sure, I do see a
Stanford.
question. I just want to answer that real
Oh,
quick.
okay, yeah.
All right. The environment in Washington put the funding for the program in jeopardy. No. Almost the entirety of our funding comes from the state, from ratepayers in the state, and is collected into a pool. So a very, very small portion of our funding is actually is federally funded through the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, and that is, I think it might be even less than 1%. It's very, very tiny. I also see a hand up. Let me
Yeah,
look up
Margaret had a question.
the rebate information. See if I can find some information on that as well. Someone's got their hand up. If you want to ask a question, you come off mute.
Yes, I represent the Westminster Presbyterian Church in West Hartford. We have rooftop heating and cooling units. They're gas and electric, and we'd like to consider heat pumps. They're about 20 some years old. Is that something that perhaps could be used in this program?
Yep. Yeah, we have special initiatives for heat pumps. We can finance them for up to 7 years. So that's regardless of the cost of the project, up to $100,000 of costs though. So if the cost is $100,000, the incentive / rebate is 20,000, then you can finance that 80,000 for up to 7 years. But yeah, heat pumps are a major push by the state over the past 2 years ish, something like that.
Now, we've used your program for electric lights going to LEDs, and that worked out great. It's all paid for. How about windows? Most of our windows are single pane, not double.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that
So
something?
we do offer incentives for windows, but I will say that they're typically very small compared to the cost because the energy savings is relatively small. And anyone who's done windows at their house knows how expensive windows are. So it's the reality of the situation, unfortunately, with windows, that it's rarely something that will make someone the incentives are rarely something that will make someone do a window project by itself. It's usually you want the windows, you want the comfort, you want the all the benefits of doing the windows, and the the incentives might just give you that little extra nudge.
Thanks.
If I can mention something about windows.
Yep.
I'm at St. Mary Church, Norwich, Connecticut. It's a neo-Gothic church, 100 years old, with beautiful stained glass, which is badly deteriorated. And we've been, for the past year, looking for grant money to at least put fresh insulation, proper insulation for stained glass windows on it. So we're getting bids and all of that. Is there anything that this program would any way it would benefit us in our search and what we're trying to do? We've already talked to 3 contractors and all of that, and we're
Yeah. So you said you're in Norwich.
Yep.
All right, so Norwich, since that's Norwich Public Utility, unfortunately, no, we couldn't run you through your project through our programs because they're it's Eversource territory or Avangrid territory exclusively.
So we
customers
can't do any of what you're talking about in Norwich?
I No, I think if you have natural gas service through Eversource Gas, though, we can do a natural gas project because I know we have Eversource gas supplies in Norwich and
Uh,
Norwich Public Utility. There's a little bit of overlap there. Um, but same thing in Wallingford. Wallingford has a public utility, but they use Eversource. They have public utility for electric. They use Eversource for natural gas. Same thing. They can do natural gas projects, but the funding for the electrical comes from the electrical ratepayers, and unfortunately, yeah, you wouldn't be able to do those. And again, that's only if you have Eversource as for your gas supply.
Doing oil heat makes no difference.
Oil heat, we get funding partially from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative to pay for oil and propane. So you could do something through the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. We call it RGGI, RGGI. But yeah, we unfortunately couldn't go through these programs. I'm sorry.
I will say, I just want to jump in, Father Bob, you and I, we should talk about windows because that is actually something that comes up a lot for houses of worship, even though maybe the normal window, the return's not huge for houses of worship, especially these really old churches. I think the return on investment might be larger because they have these old, beautiful windows. So Father Bob, and also the utilities, the municipal utilities do have their own programs. Norwich Public Utilities has one, Groton Public Utilities has one. So and they're Groton Public Utilities is excellent. Norwich Public Utilities, I would like to meet with them and sort of discuss how we could make the process easier for folks to access, but they do exist. So I'll definitely talk to you about that. And they're also there's historic preservation funding that can be used for energy efficiency measures, and that might actually be something you could look at because you're trying to insulate your historic stained windows. So that might be an option.
We'll talk.
We'll talk. And
Yeah,
Margaret's wanted to do
Windows
it for
can
a
get
while.
tricky. We had a customer in Old Saybrook that wanted to do their windows a few years back, and there was I think it was a local ordinance that got in the way because the new windows didn't look traditional enough to meet the ordinance. So yeah, windows can get tricky.
I think, Margaret, you've had your hand up if you want to ask your question.
Yes. Hi. Maggie Goodwin, USNH in Hamden, and we also benefited from the electricity and the lights. We're still struggling. I mean, the solar lottery has kind of disappeared. I don't know if anybody here knows anything more about that, but also the expense, it seems like, because we're looking at HVAC systems and air conditioning for part of our building. That our building was built in like 7 different we had 7 different roofs and 7 different additions. And so it seemed like when we were talking about it before that the HVAC and the heat pumps were really very expensive, and there wasn't much around to help with that. You were saying there was a limit, I think, Alan, on that. I just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what might be available for support around the HVAC and also the solar, which I know is federally compromised.
Yeah, so the solar programs I can't speak too much to. I've never worked in those, so I'll just have to direct you. I put the link in the chat um, for that website and their contact information. But as far as HVAC goes, essentially any HVAC system we have potential upgrades for, but there are some caveats. For instance. We're trying to get permission to start replacing oil and propane boilers and furnaces with more efficient versions. That was taken away, I think, 2 years ago, possibly, because they wanted the state wanted us to focus on electrification. But I think people have realized that electrification isn't always a solution for some customers. And there are some customers, if they're Hamden, obviously not a good example, but there are customers that are a little bit more out in the boonies who they lose power often. Just because they're further out there, more potential down wires, lines on trees and stuff like that. So they don't want to go with electrification, and those customers would still be well served by replacing the boilers or furnaces. So we're looking at bringing those back, but we do have programs for rooftop units, programs for replacing old equipment with heat pumps, and then also programs for making existing equipment run more efficiently. So if you replace the rooftop unit, in the past 10 years, it's probably not worth replacing it again. But we might be able to take a look at running that system much more efficiently than it's running now. And those upgrades to make the system run better are usually fairly inexpensive compared to replacing the HVAC system itself. And as always, we can finance up to $100,000 worth of work on your electric bill, and that's per facility. So if you are part of a network, say 3 different houses of worship that are all kind of in the same network, for example, or whatever the situation might be, that's $100,000 per location, not per customer, right? So if you own 2 businesses, same thing. You own a location in Waterford and then one in Old Lyme, you could have 100,000 at each.
And you're at USNH in Hamden, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I was wondering, so Ricky, could you just sort of review the actual rebates for heat pumps? I believe it's per ton. I want to say it's $1,500 per ton or something like that.
Yep, correct. $1,500 per ton on approved equipment. We have a kind of a running list of equipment that's approved for install, so we provide those to the contractors as well. So
And
they'll be able
there's
to help you. Good.
There are a couple places that I can think of off the top of my head, houses of worship that have done the heat pumps, and would be probably very willing to talk to you about their experience. One is Congregation Adath Israel in Middletown did a large heat pump project. So I'm sure I could put you in touch with Andy Bauer, who sort of led that effort.
That would be great. And also if we had any, if there is anything, because the building was built in 7 different times, and so we have a couple of interesting heating options and no cooling options that, with a boiler and those kind of things. And when you guys came before. So I don't know if is there a time that you all can come out and relook at things, or is that, I mean, how do we apply, or because we don't really know what we don't know.
Right. So
We looked at it
you would
3
do the
years
sign up for
ago.
the small business energy assessment, and
Yep.
a contractor would come out to the church and look around and do a whole assessment. It takes a couple hours, and then they write up a report. They would submit it to UI. UI would approve the rebates. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. And then they'd send you back the proposal. And the good thing is the assessment is free, and the it's no obligation. Like you
Right.
could look at the proposal and make a decision at that point. It's not like once you have them come, you're locked in. But I will say a lot of houses of worship have really benefited from this. They have done the program, so it's definitely worthwhile. The other thing that I often recommend, especially because houses of worship have different zones, you're not the first one to have been built in multiple time frames, and but they'll also have different zones that are getting used at different times, and so they'll sort of decide, okay, let's do heat pumps in the office, because that's getting the most use, or also the sort of fellowship hall where people tend to gather for larger events, and they'll do the sanctuary last because often that might be the place that is actually getting the least amount of use. I mean, it's open on the
Right.
weekends. So you can
Okay.
also
How
look at that sort of strategy.
is there a limit? I think you guys came out, and I think it's maybe been 2 or 3 years, that you came out and did one of the audits. Is there a limit as to when you can come again? I mean, it feels like to
Nope.
us that because we were moving on the solar and things just kind of went haywire uh, around cost and such then, and the the lottery. I don't know, Terry, if you know.
I can talk. I mean, I can certainly, I know a lot about the solar stuff,
Right.
but I don't want to take up too much of this hour
No,
just
that
because, but if people have other questions, I am really happy. I'm going to put my email in the chat if anyone doesn't have it. Um, and I'm happy to talk to you more about solar and the federal tax credits, how they are sunsetting, what it looks like, and that sort of thing. Because you have more time than you think, but also time is of the essence. So it's
okay,
this.
definitely we'll be in touch. And I don't know, is it can you is it is if we had the lighting done and the assessment done like 2.5
Oh,
years ago,
you can
is it
definitely go
worth
back. Yeah,
and look
Temple
at
B'nai
the
Israel and Willimantic, they're like one of my favorite success stories. They did a lighting project in 2024, and then
right?
their heating system started to die and their roof needed to be replaced. So they decided, well, let's do this all. They replaced the roof, they electrified with heat pumps, and they are installing right now a really large solar array. So
Wow. Can
they're going to be
you
net
could
zero by the time they flip the switch.
well, that's great. Terry, could you also maybe give us that contact so that somebody at USNH might talk with them about
Yeah,
their
absolutely. Yeah,
journey?
I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to you. It'll probably be after the Jewish holidays finish, but they're very proud of it. And I know they're planning on doing like a ribbon cutting. So, if you wanted to come and see it in person, you could schlep up for the ribbon cutting as well. It's in
Oh,
Willimantic,
that
so it's a little distance, but
no, that's great. If you could send the information or I'll email you to see if
sure.
I can get that. That would be great. Because
Great,
I
great,
think
great.
a lot of times I think it's an emotional, we kind of got um, discouraged. We were on a path, and I would imagine that this maybe has happened to other congregations that
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like all of a sudden, solar and all of these things were like impossible again. And,
Mm-hmm.
you felt kind of alone. So this is very helpful to kind of be re-energized and maybe a little more hopeful.
Good.
All right, I saw a question from Ray Sarah. What is the ideal church characteristics that benefit the most? Typically, it's irrelevant. The square footage, those kind of things. It mostly comes down to how often the building is used. That is really the difference maker. So if it's you have like one weekday sermon and then a thing on Saturday and a normal thing on Sunday or whatever it is, if you're only using the facility 3 days a week or parts of it 3 days a week, that's just going to be a little bit less energy savings because you're not using as much energy as a baseline. Whereas a place that is maybe it has a rectory built in, maybe it's also got a school built in and is in use every day. That's just going to make the energy savings is going to be higher, even if you're doing the exact same thing as a lower use facility.
Can I just jump in about them? You may have covered this. I spent some of the time earlier in the webinar trying to figure out who the offender was. But you talked about the micro business program because that is what often houses
Yes.
of worship fall under. And so
Yeah.
to Alan's point, most houses of worship fall under the micro business program, which is
Mhm.
assessed by usage.
Yep.
And it's a really wonderful option.
Yeah, so the micro business is it's an incentive offer within the small business program, and basically it's just an added boost to incentives for the really small businesses. So businesses that use 100,000 kilowatt hours a year or less, and you'll be able to tell that on your electric bill. If you're using less than $8,000 or 8,000 kilowatt hours a month, on average, then you're under 100,000 for the year. But basically, it's just an added boost to all the incentives because those customers typically have even less resources on hand and also need the incentives usually a little bit more. And it was one of the things that houses of worship were front of mind when we were coming up with that incentive offer for that exact reason.
I mean, 99% of houses of worship qualify for this.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, this is designed for the businesses that are not open all day, every day.
Mhm.
They're not a restaurant, they're not a corner store, small business. They are open a few hours a week, couple hours a day type of thing. And I believe the incentives are 80% up to a certain
Yeah,
total project cost.
it's up to 80% of the project cost.
And is there
So
a limit to that project cost?
no.
Wow. So that I will say that's a new expanded update.
Yeah, so
That it used to
I
have a
can
cap and now it does not have a cap.
yeah,
Wow.
so there were some changes. I think this presentation was done 2 years ago originally. Rachel, my coworker, did it then. So yeah, it's up to 80% of the project cost, and there's no limit to that project cost anymore.
That's
That
great.
Wow.
Yeah, we changed that because we had a lot of projects where they were really good projects, and it was really cost effective for us, great idea for the customer, but it just was a $50,000 project, and the cap of 20,000 total costs was just hurting and making those customers not go through with those projects. So um,
So let's talk about how this then this is a perfect segue because now
Yeah.
we've got so say this $50,000 total project cost with an $80,000 instant rebate. That's tremendous. And then the Main Street projects are this is a new thing from Eversource.
yes,
They started
yes.
in 2024 with a city in they did it in Bristol, and it's a
Mhm.
city by city thing. They're doing 8 cities this year. They have 4 left to go. Alan, take it away.
All right, so the Main Streets program basically is we partner with one of our vendors to kind of, for lack of a better term, saturate a city in energy efficiency experts for a week. So we start with marketing a few weeks in advance, send out mailers to all the small businesses, small business qualified customers in the town. Um, and sorry, Kristen, yes, we do still do 0% on bill for micro businesses. But yeah, and basically we will go around and go kind of door to door on Main Street customers. So if you think of an area like Manchester, which we just did, I think it was last week or the week before. Um, Main strip through Manchester, where all those small businesses are. We went door to door, and knocked on every door, tried to get into the businesses, talk to the owners or managers, and kind of give them our spiel. And we found that having a utility representative in the form of myself or one of my coworkers has been very helpful because those customers, when they see someone who's just there from some business trying to sell them something, they tend to be more likely to just dismiss it and kind of crumple up the mail or throw it in the trash and ignore it. But having someone from the utility does help. And the only real difference in terms of incentives is if you're doing weatherization measures, so that's insulation, air sealing, weather stripping around doors and windows, those kinds of things. We can give 100% of that, the cost of those measures, up to $15,000. So if you're doing $10,000 worth of weatherization, essentially you pay sales tax, and that's it. The rest of it is covered by the incentive.
And so we actually reached out, IREJN reached out to as many houses of worship as I could find in Manchester last week. And I was told that houses of worship in Manchester can still sign up for this through the end of
Yes.
September. And then
Yes.
Stamford is next week, the
Mhm.
21st. It's 1 week, but they have additional time afterwards to sign up.
Yeah,
Going to
yeah.
New
So
Milford
we
and
don't want to,
Newtown.
we don't want to cut customers off, on the Friday of, right? But there is a cutoff point, and it's usually 3 weeks after. So yeah, for Manchester being last week or the week before, I forget. I think it was last week.
It was 8th to the 12th.
Yeah, yeah, time all blends together. I apologize, but but anyway, so yeah, it's usually about 3 weeks after, and that's the time you have to sign up for the program, not sign the contract to do the project. So if you sign up for the program, have the assessment done, say two weeks after, and then it takes like a month for you to get the project together and decide, do you want to go forward with it? It would still qualify at that point. It's 3 weeks after to sign up for the program.
It's great. It's a great. These are really great opportunities.
Yeah, the
It has to
weatherization
work again for
measures.
small businesses.
Yeah, the weatherization installation, we really like because it lasts a long time. You know, even really high efficiency light bulbs are usually going to last 10 years at the most. A little bit longer usually in house of worship because they're not on as much as they are at like a convenience store. But you're talking 10 years, maybe a little bit more. Whereas weatherization, installation, you put that in, and it's barring like a roof leak, that kind of thing. It's going to be up there for decades, and it's going to yield energy benefits for 20, 25 years at least. So we look at it as a really good a good way for long-term energy savings.
This is Maggie again. Is there a chance that you could put in to what you send us what towns have done that? So if we're going to our mayors, that they might talk to somebody that thinks it's a good idea, because you say you have room for 4 more.
Well, so
We-
Eversource
yeah.
pre-selected their cities, and this is specifically in Eversource right now. I don't know if UI is doing something similar. Sometimes the utilities are great about coordinating on the sort of large statewide programs, but sometimes they offer their own expanded rebates. I think last
Okay.
year UI had something really great going in their
Yes.
territory. So, but this, to your point, talking to, this is a great segue, advocating to your town and state legislatures about the importance of energy efficiency and clean energy is really, really important. These programs make a big difference, both for small businesses, houses of worship, and then the home programs really help people in their homes. There will be an effort this year to dismantle the public benefits charge, to they're going to try again. They tried with 3 separate bills last year, and what I've heard is they're going to try again. So we need to advocate for these programs. They make a big difference. They reduce building emissions, power plant emissions, and greenhouse gas emissions. They help everyone be more comfortable in where their place of work or their residence, and they save everyone a lot of money, and they reduce peak demand. So
yeah,
advocacy
and
is important.
yeah, to that point, the reason I got in energy efficiency, I originally got into just conservation, sustainability in general. But the reason I got in energy efficiency was because as a college student, I had never heard it really discussed in the same way that I had heard renewable energy discussed, and the the average building can have, usually 33% at a minimum of their energy use reduced. Industrial customers, it's usually quite a bit less because they have machinery and all that kind of stuff. But for most other customers, you can reduce that your energy use by 33% just with energy efficiency. And you figure if you need to replace all the generation with something that's renewable, well, by doing energy efficiency first, you have to do 33% less, 33% fewer solar panels, 33% fewer wind turbines. And then it's not just the turbines and generation, but the distribution, battery storage, all those kind of things that go into the grid. You can reduce all that by 33% just by energy efficiency. So I see Kristen's got a question. We do have a program for EV chargers. That is a separate program from small business. However, you can finance the EV charger installation cost. Thank you, Ricky. You can finance the cost of the EV charging installation minus the incentive on your small business project. So you do have to do a small business project to qualify for that, though. So if you do, your small business project and then an EV charger separately, the cost of that EV charger, you can throw that on a small business project and finance it along with the project.
And that's only an Eversource territory can do it. UI is not.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, and I believe that's we mentioned that on the slides on the slide deck. So.
I think West Hartford has already done the program. Is it too late to apply?
For main streets?
Yeah,
They did
didn't
not do
they? I
Main
think
Street.
I don't think so.
they haven't. Oh, all right. I know they've boasted about being I don't know, gold, platinum, or whatever on sustainability. One of the small number of towns
Oh,
around
West
Connecticut.
Hartford's a leader for sure.
West Hartford
This
is a
is this
gold
Main Street program is a
certified.
new thing through Eversource.
Okay.
So I'm waiting to see what cities or towns they choose for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, we focused this year on a highly concentrated municipalities, simply because that would give us the biggest bang for our buck, and also we would learn the strongest lessons from how to improve the program and the offer. By getting more and more experience. So I forget what the order we did them in was, but Manchester was just last week. Stanford is next week, and I think we have Newtown.
And Newtown and New
Newtown and
Milford.
New Milford. That's the other one. Yeah. And then we already have done New London. Geez, they're all blending
Hartford,
together.
Montville.
Yeah.
I can't remember the fourth.
But yeah,
And
it's great program.
just to comment on the Main Street from the UI side of things, we do participate in those programs as well. Obviously, having fewer towns, we run fewer per year, and we run them just a slight bit differently than Eversource, but the incentives are still the same. This year, we've done West Haven, Ansonia, Derby, and Shelton as kind of a combined Main Street in all three towns. And then we are wrapping up our Bridgeport Main Street now, which will be our last Main Street for the year. And then we'll pick our Main Street towns for 2026 at the end of this year and early next year.
Great. I would love to partner more with you guys on reaching out to the houses of worship in your upcoming Main Street. So definitely let me know. I heard about Bridgeport, and we reached out to Bridgeport congregations as much as we could.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I'll definitely loop you in on the front end of the next ones.
Great.
I just had probably our last question. For towns or volunteer groups in towns that are interested in promoting these opportunities to houses of worship or businesses in their community, are there already existing resources that they could use to go out and share? I know in the past, I think Eversource had grants for these groups to do like community energy campaigns targeted towards homeowners and heat pumps. Is there anything similar for these programs?
Currently, I don't think so. We used to do kind of our marketing efforts kind of on a team by team basis. We didn't have a separate marketing department. And for better or for worse, the marketing was split off into its own department. So they have their approach. So and kind of metrics as to what has worked and what hasn't, so they don't kind of throw good money after bad, which obviously makes sense. But because some initiatives haven't been successful that we've tried in the past, so they don't want to retread that ground. We have material like pamphlets and flyers and those kind of things that we can get, but as far as funding for any campaigns like that, we'd have to draw up something, a proposal to give to our marketing department and say, hey, this is what we want to do, and we think it's going to yield X, Y, and Z results. So that would be a case by case basis. It wouldn't be something I could promise up front.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
So we are at 11, or actually 11:01. So I want to be respectful of folks' time. Unless
That's okay. I'm on the clock.
Okay. If anyone has any last burning questions, get them answered. Otherwise, I just want to thank you all for joining us. We will send out the PowerPoint and a recording. Thank you to Ricky, Alan, and Terry for you guys are such a wealth of information. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you to everybody for tuning in and asking so many great questions. I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much, everyone.
Thanks for having us.